It's me, Capri. My mommy is the best. Super mom will be best. She helps mommy get their smiles back, their giggles back, and their sparkle back. You wait for the straw brush. Get ready for it's super slowly, not super strong.
For the Soul podcast, sponsored by Supermom Robin Stoltman, where every week I feature different guests to empower you to become the best version of yourself through different methods you may not have heard of or even thought of. If you are ever looking for a virtual assistant, I highly recommend Sphere Rocket to delegate any business-related tasks like grow your social medias, book appointments, and much more that all businesses require, boosting your sales, productivity, and much more. The link to Sphere Rocket is at the bottom of this episode. And this is season 6, episode number 42. And today I have my guest, Peter Kolat, who didn't grow up with a silver spoon in his mouth. He grew up in communist Poland, where he didn't have much. But yes, he had a fork, just not always food to stab it with. At 14, he came to America with a suitcase in his hand and 0 words of English. 0, nada. In fact, he wondered whether he was Polish or Polish. You know, the
That's
stuff
right.
on the furniture. He got picked on, misunderstood, underestimated, and that was just his first week of high school. But that's where the journey began, from immigrant underdog to building a life of purpose, freedom, faith, and deep transformation. So today, I'm so excited to talk with you, Peter. Thank you so much for being here with our audience.
Well, thanks for having me, Supermom. Yeah.
Well, I've got 8 children that are
That's
living.
it? Just 8? Just 8?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
The oldest
incredible.
Well, yeah, the oldest is the youngest I just had 5 weeks ago.
Wow. Well, congratulations. Wow.
Yeah, thank you. It's a lot running a business and trying to figure everything out to navigate through everything. And at the same time, I'm like, I can't help but when I was reading about your story, ahead of time, I was like, wow, you've been through a lot that you've accomplished, which is amazing. Like coming here to the US at 14, no English. It's like, how do you navigate that? But that's like my first question.
Well, how you navigate it. I mean, here's the simple truth to that is how you navigate it is by when you're thrown into the environment, you just deal with it. You know what I mean? There is no excuses, no getting away from it or running away from it. You just have to deal with it. And the way I've done it is like you mentioned at the beginning, I had no English. So the first things, I remember I came during the Labor Day weekend. So Monday was Labor Day. And Tuesday, my mom took me to high school and they put me into like the principal's office, and I wasn't in trouble yet, you know what I mean? But I was just in the principal's office. And he had me go and take different tests, and they were in Polish. So they could figure out what kind of level I'm at, right? So math, I basically was way ahead of schedule. So they didn't have to worry about that. The only thing that I had to worry about is ESL. So they ended up putting me in 2 different ESL classes. They gave me a person who was Polish. He was there for a year. He spoke English. And he was like my person that kind of like helped me navigate for the first couple of weeks, like around school. So that's kind of how I ended up getting into it. 2 ESL classes. I blame my accent on my ESL teachers because my first one was, Arabic with an accent. My second one was Albanian with an accent. And that's where I'm at. So then I, started learning English and, got in to get some friends and got in soccer because that was the thing that I knew, right? So the way I looked at it is, now that I look back at it, is I was in an environment that I was uncertain. I don't know what the environment was, right? And what I had to do is 1, adapt to that. And 2, I looked for some things that I already know that could give me some kind of an anchor, some kind of maybe a little bit of like certainty back then because I was 14 years old. So that for me was soccer. I knew soccer. That's a universal language, right?
Yeah, it definitely is.
Except for United States, I think. Soccer is number 1 everywhere in the world except for United States. That I don't know why that is, but it is what it is. So so that's how I started getting into it and creating some friends and that's where it started.
Oh, well, I'm thinking now, I'm like, Yeah, I don't know why that is for soccer, because I'm down that road in my brain, because I'm like, I like soccer better. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's one of the sports that I enjoyed. One of my sons last night, he's like, boys like soccer and girls like hearts, and I'm like, okay. And I'm like, he's gonna be my soccer player, but he's got the body built for like he's built like a tank. So I mean, like he could be like a quarterback, you know. But
He's both for football, yeah.
well, yeah, I think soccer would be safer though. But maybe not so much if you watch how some
It
people
depends,
play.
you know. I mean, I've had some interesting injuries during my soccer years, so yeah, it all depends.
Yeah, that's true. So, you know, like, can you tell me more about like your background? Like, okay, we know that you're an immigrant that came at 14, no English. You went through classes to help you to speak English. You had the 2 teachers help you with speaking for the English.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you get started on this journey? This journey of like transformation.
Right. So that's a great question. So once I got out of high school, I went into college and got a degree in architecture. And I say this because it's important. It's part of the entire story, because we all do this kind of thing. For me, I went into School of Architecture. And the reason why I went in there, because between the ages 8 and 14, I was living in my uncle, because my parents got divorced when I was 8. And at that time, my mom came to United States because this was a land of opportunity. By the way, I still believe United States is a land of opportunity. But back then was a land of opportunity. It was like money grows on trees there, right? So she came here to make money, and me and my sister ended up living with my uncle. So for 6 years, we lived there. While I was there, my uncle, he literally built his entire house, all the furniture in his house, everything. So he was this guy who was very handy, and, you know, he was able to do all kinds of different architectural kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that was my influence, right? We all do this in some shape or form, don't we? So I went into architecture, got my degree in architecture, started doing a lot of, buildings here in Michigan, because I live in Michigan. During that time, I met my, sweetheart. We ended up getting married. We had 3 kids, and I'm doing the architecture world. And then about 2007, I see what's going on in this entire country. And I started looking from the perspective, okay, something I need to shift, because architecture is kind of drying up. So I kind of started foreseeing what might be coming. So I started my own company on the side part-time. It was a company that was helping people and business owners develop websites and do some marketing. So then in about, I would say 2008, 2009, because I built that business to a certain level, I ended up quitting and going full-time into that business. And there was some struggles, because obviously 2008 hit people a lot, hit us quite a lot too. And in 2011, actually at the end of 2010, my wife came to me and she said she wants a divorce. And that was a shock to me. Like, I could not believe it. And long story short, in 2011, we ended up getting divorced. And that period after that, I went into what I call optimistic depression. And what that means for some people, look at your expression, optimistic depression. How those 2 things don't work, you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're polar opposites.
Exactly, right? So I'll tell you how that worked for me. Deep down inside, I mean, looking at my time back then for about maybe, I would say, almost a couple of years, I think, in that whole entire journey. Deep inside, I was depressed. I didn't want to get out of bed. You know, I had my kids come over on weekends, and I was hanging out with them. I was playing with them. I was doing different things with them, but I wasn't really there, if that makes any sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
you weren't present.
Yeah, completely, right? Because I was in my head, right?
Yeah.
And I was, depressed, right? I didn't eat very well. I didn't sleep very well. None of that stuff. Now, where's the optimistic come into this picture? Well, when someone asked me, how's it going? What's going on with me? All those things. My answer was, I'm good. Everything's good. I'm good. You know what? I'm good. Very optimistic, right? About being depressed. And I wasn't letting anyone in. And I was dealing with it myself. And that was one mistake that I made back then. So during that particular journey, towards the end of that time, I was talking to one of our friends. She was like a real estate guru. and she connected me with this other guy. His name is Jason, and because he had a similar story, and I started talking with him, and we became best friends. And through that journey, I ended up getting into a mastermind because of him. And through that, I started having this self-discovery / awakening kind of for myself to see what the heck is going on. Why am I the way I am? And why is this? Because I had this unanswered question back then. I would ask myself, what the heck is wrong with me? Over and over and over again. And guess what kind of answers I was getting? Not very good, right? Because the brain is one of the smartest things in the world because it can do some amazing, unbelievable things, right? But at the same time, I believe the brain is one of the dumbest things in the world because it will not really argue with you. It will just tell you what you want to hear. So if you ask a, stupid question, you're going to get a stupid answer kind of a thing, right? And that's what was happening for me. Like I was asking, what's wrong with me? Well, the brain says, well, here's me giving you 10 different reasons what's wrong with you. So that was the conversation. That's when I started shifting that conversation. And through that process, I had to do a lot of forgiveness and for people, myself, and kind of self-love and all those different things. And what ended up happening is out of that, in that group, the people that were surrounding me in that group at one point said, you should be a coach. You should help other people do this because who you are, how you ask questions and those kinds of things. And that's where what I do right now in the world, that's where I was born. And I know it's a kind of long-winded answer, but what I'm hoping that you as an audience listening to it is, one, we are, for lack of a word, programmed very young when we were kids through all different things because we're looking at the world, at the people that are most important to us, and we learn from them kind of, blindly because we don't argue it. And then we take it through our life and we actually walk through it. And that's how, we end up having this version of ourselves that it's working from a place of survival in a way. Hope that makes sense.
Well, yeah, it definitely does because I'm a hypnotherapist. So it's like I understand like the subconscious mind and how it works and why we do what we do and how we do what we do. It's just one of those things like in the blind spots, like with DISC that we're taught, like you can't see those different areas. But then when they do get brought to light, you're like, oh my gosh, another thing to work on. I swear for like every one thing I've worked on, there's like another 10 that pop up. I'm like, man, I'm either really screwed up or I'm really got a lot of opportunities to work on them.
Well, I will tell you this.
The optimistic way.
Yeah, one of those things was me being the people pleaser. I did not know, I kid you not, did not know until I was 35 years old that I was a people pleaser. That, I was talking in that mastermind group. And having the conversation of what's going on and how my business is, because my business basically fell apart during that particular time. I lost, my business because I wasn't into it. And people were asking me, so, how you do it, what you do with the business and all those things. And I would say yes to everything and everybody. And one person in that room, his name was David, he goes, well, dude, you're a people pleaser. I'm like, what? No way. What are you talking about? I'm not a people pleaser. And then they kind of give me this kind of a proof. I'm like, just this like epiphany. What? I'm a people pleaser? And then the whole life started flashing in front of me like in the past. How I was the people pleaser with my kids, with my ex-wife, and all those, and how that actually played into the marriage and, and all those different things. And wow, that was just like an awakening moment for me. So yeah, I can relate to what you're saying.
Yeah, that definitely. Because I'm like, there's a lot of people that I know that are people pleasers. I used to be one myself, and it's something that's very hard to break free from. Of where you're trying to not do everything for everybody else, but then it's like, what about me? It's like we put ourselves on the last part of that, and that makes it very difficult. I very much know that part. So how did you break free from not just the people pleasing, but you also said like it does play like into the business, into your relationship. Like, how did you break free from that? Yeah,
that's a great question. So during that process, when I was in the mastermind, it's in a company called Life in Air. And what I learned in there is that for the longest time, people would tell me I need a business plan. So I created a business plan, and I had a business plan, and I worked that business plan. And by the way, the business plan was designed based on my belief system that I have to do everything myself and all those different things. So that's where the people pleaser was in it. Now, nobody until that time told me that I should have a vision for my own life. and start with the vision for my life. So what do I want my life to look like? Like every area of my life, my relationships, my marriage, my kids' relationships, my health, my spiritual life, everything and anything. Put it on the page and write in the present tense and have this life first kind of a thinking. All right. So finally wrote that vision on there. Then what I learned is, how do I actually live that vision? Let's put it on the calendar. In order for me to, let's say, have a great relationship with my kids, I need to be present. So what does that look like? Well, I'm spending time with my kids at that particular time and nothing else. Or I have dinner with my wife. Or I have, me time for health, going to the gym. Or I have a morning time that's really important to me. And I put all those things on the calendar. Just life first. No business, just life first. So then at the end of that exercise, I'm left with some white spots on that calendar, right? Because I can't fill the entire calendar. There will be some white spots. And guess what? Those white spots that's left over, that's the stuff that's left over for business. So I ended up with about, I won't say 20 hours left in the entire week for business stuff to do. So now I want to live this life, and then I have 20 hours to do it in my business. So the question became, how do I structure that business to support that life? Okay, so now I have the vision and I have my calendar. And now, every time, and I'll give you an example, I have a really good friend of mine. He was like a real estate guru, and a few years ago, he came to me and says, listen, I'm starting a new company, and it's going to be national, and I'm shifting how certain things are done in real estate. I think it's going to be amazing, and I have this plan. I have a team put together, and I want you to partner with me, and you'll be heading in all kinds of different things, right? And so I start asking him questions about money, about time, and one of the things he says, it's going to probably at the beginning take us about maybe 20 hours of your time to work on this. So I'm like, okay. Now, the people pleaser in me goes, yes, I'll do it. You know what? Money and, making them happy and all those things, right? So I say yes.
Yeah.
Now, here's the important aspect. So I said to myself, listen, this sounds good, but let me think about it. That's okay to say, right? So I go back home, I'll look at my vision, look at the calendar, and he said 20 hours, and I ask myself this question. One, does it align with my vision? And then two, where am I going to fit those 20 hours in a week with my current calendar that I have? And what do I have to take out in order to make room for those 20 hours? Because crazy thing is, we all have 24 hours in a day. So the first thing I would be going out, maybe my sleep, dinners, maybe my gym time, my quiet time would be going out of that. Now, that doesn't really work, does it?
No, it doesn't.
I went back to him and I said to him, listen, dude, I would love to do this business. I think it's awesome. I think it's an amazing thing. However, my vision doesn't allow me to do that. And he kind of looked at me weird and he's like, what are you talking about? And I explained to him what that means. And then he agreed with me. But here's the important thing that I did as a people pleaser. I did not say no. I blamed it on my vision. My vision said no. And guess who wrote that vision? I did. But I blamed it on the vision. And that was how I was able to eliminate that whole people pleaser thing. Kind of like combat that. So I do that with everything in my life right now. When someone asks me to get on calls in the evening, like my students, I first make sure I say, listen, this is my vision. What's on my calendar is my time with my wife. Because I'm remarried, happily remarried. She's an amazing woman. And I'm grateful for her, kind of thing. So I want to cultivate that marriage. So if that is a time that I'm with my wife and he wants to have a call, guess what? My vision doesn't allow me to do that. And that's how I am able to say no.
I like that. Yeah. Well, no, that's a good way of putting it, because it's like that's one of the things that I've struggled myself with being a business owner. It's like my whole purpose is for my children, for them to take over the business like when I'm not here. And it's like, how do you bring in the finances to meet the finances at the same time while making sure that they have time? And so it's like, I'm thinking, okay, well, when you said about the 20 hours, I'm like, that's about all I've got left, because when they're home from school, I want to make sure that I'm not doing anything after 3 o'clock. So that's
Right.
one of my things that I'm like, nope, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then like Saturdays when birthdays came up, I'm like, oh, well, now I got planned for this. I didn't think about that like with the school part because I was homeschooling last year. So it's like when I added this to it, I'm like, oh, this is something different, but it's carving that time out. So it's like, yeah, I've only got 20 hours, but how do you make the most of that time when you're very short, limited to create that life that you want? And you said you started with your vision first. Did you know exactly like what your vision looked like? Like when,
Well,
like
what's
for the end
projected
result?
is the future, right? That was projected into the
Yeah.
future. So I just started. Here's what I thought about.
Mhm.
We do events around the country. So this is one of the questions that we kind of ask them. Think about this: if you had a genie, and that genie could give you any kind of wish, and any wish, and unlimited wishes. You don't have to There's not just stops at 3, but you get unlimited wishes. What would you want your life to look like every year of your life? And you just start writing this out because, I know it's kind of like a fluffy kind of a thing, fooey kind of thing, but I don't know if the word is even there. Fooey. Is there such a word? I don't know. But anyway, if there
Probably,
isn't,
but
I
we can
just
make
made
our
one
own.
up. All right. So, by the way, how many words in English language are made up, right? But so what ended up happening is you start writing that vision sort of like, what if I didn't have any limits, what would that look like? Because here's the thing, at the end of your life, when you're laying in bed, on your deathbed, what are going to be your regrets? You're probably not going to be regretting that you didn't take that business call. You're probably going to be regretting that you didn't spend time with your family, your wife, your kids, or your husband, or whoever it might be, right? And
Yeah.
that's important to you. So when you start looking from that perspective, and then you have 20 hours, like you mentioned, and you ask yourself, what do I need to do? How do I set up this business in order for it to work in 20 hours that I have available? And that requires you to let go a lot of the beliefs that we've been raised with, like maybe doing everything yourself, like I have to do everything perfect, or I have to, whatever the belief might be. And when you start looking from that perspective, you start to hire different people for different aspects of it. You start to, not making everything perfect. By the way, me as an architecture, when I was in architecture, guess what? It's perfection because you have to be exactly with the numbers. So I had to battle that one too. So now if it gets, good enough, we release it, right? We put it out there and see how that works out, what the audience is going to say. So there's a lot of that limiting beliefs, I call them blind agreements, that we have to let go of in order for us to grow in life.
Yeah, there's way too many of those blind agreements, like what you said, that we've created that we're not aware of. And it's like, that's what holds us back. People like, it's a you and you deal. Well, 100% it's a you and you deal. It's like, you got to look at what's holding you back is you. There's really nothing else that's holding you back. It's those beliefs. And it's a lot of those beliefs also tie into the habits that we created. Because
exactly,
a lot of people,
right?
Yeah, it's like my habits are okay, but some of them could improve. I think all of us still have areas. Like one of the things that I have found, I don't know if it's in your case too, but it's like when you get into this role and this, not so much this role, but it's like that personal development field, it's like something that within you just like comes alive where you don't want to ever stop growing. And at the same time, how long have you been doing this?
Well,
you ever get tired of it?
Well, there are days when it's rough, you know what I mean? But the thing is,
Yeah.
when you have that vision, when you have a purpose, when you feel like this is your reason why you're here, you keep going, you know what I mean? One of my mantras that I have is to never, ever, 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 did I say never? Give up, right? And when I start looking from that perspective, all of a sudden, sometimes those tough days, those tough seasons, and guess what? They end, right?
Yeah,
At
they
some
do every
point,
time.
just like, in the seasons of life, winter, spring, summer, they all end and next one comes. So if I believe that, then I just need to, get through that day or whatever it might be to be able to go to the next level. I've learned since then to not let that stuff kind of take over me, empower me, and actually handle it a lot better. And I actually think that it's not so much, changing yourself or fixing yourself, because I think there's a lot of misunderstanding. And it's about letting go of a lot of those limiting beliefs and getting back to your authentic self that we were all put on this earth for, kind of a thing. Because think about this one, when you were 3, 4, 5 years old, you didn't have all these beliefs. You didn't have all this
No.
fearfulness, or you were unstoppable. I mean, you said you have little kids. I mean, your 3-year-old, if you have one, he's probably, or she is, fearless. She'll just say anything and never approach anybody. There's no looking good. There is no avoiding looking bad. None of that stuff. And
Nope,
then what?
none of
We
that.
learned it, right? So I think it's getting back to your authenticity. And I wrote that in my book because I think it was really important for people to see that way.
And I know you just had mentioned that you have a book, and then you'd also mentioned something important about how, like, fixing yourself.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who have that belief that they've got to fix themselves, that there's something wrong. Like, I've struggled with it, you struggled with it, and it's just like, what is that, like, fixing that people are so, like, they've got to fix? But it's like, what is there to really fix?
Well, that's I think the misunderstanding, because think about it this way. Some of us are fixers, right?
Yes.
A lot of it is men are fixers, right? I'll just fix it. Car is broken, I'll fix it. So we start looking from the perspective of we can do that with our minds and our brains and all that kind of stuff. However, I truly believe there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing to be fixed. Okay? And what I mean by that is that authentic self, the one that was brought in here before you learned what the world told you to be, how you need to be, all those beliefs, that is that authentic self. And so what we're trying to do in life, we're trying to fix and change that version of ourselves that was never ours to begin with, that we learned. And now what ends up happening, we try to change and fix, and it doesn't work. But if you just start to let go of those beliefs, because think about it this way, you probably at some point had some kind of a beliefs that you believe without a shadow of a doubt that is true, that it's, nobody's going to change your mind. And then you learn something new, and all of a sudden, guess what happened to the belief? Just went away. You no longer believe that. You let go of that belief. So now when you start looking from that perspective, guess what? You start to let go of those beliefs, and you learn something new about yourself. Like, for instance, I learned this from a guy named Tony Robbins. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he says, life happens for me, not to me. I totally took that on. So everything, the good, bad, and the ugly happens for me, not to me. And it changes the whole paradigm. And that's what, the book is basically, that I just mentioned, is all about letting go of that version that was created and getting back to your authentic self. There's nothing can stop you.
Well, yeah, so what is the name of your book then? Because I'm very interested in that.
Here, if you look at the copy, it's called The Authentic Self Rebirth. In fact, I think it's the first cover ever where you can put your name on top of it. There's a line in here that you can put your name.
Oh, that's awesome.
See, so it will be Robin's Authentic Self Rebirth, Peter's Authentic Self Rebirth, because I want people to own it. And everything in this book is basically, there's 2 parts in it. One is called The Awakening. That's when you uncover all these blind agreements, those blind spots that you talked about. And because when you do that, now all of a sudden it's like, I'm a people pleaser. Never knew that. How do I tackle that? And then the second part is called Rebirth, which is when you actually get back to your authentic self. I have exercises. It's like a 4D, experience. I have videos. I have QR codes in there. People can scan and go to the website and watch and things like that. So it's not just the book, it's the whole enchilada kind of a thing to help people get back.
No, that's awesome, because I know, like, one of the things that I uncovered through a program that I've been in for a while, and I had no clue, and why would I? Because it was the blind spot.
Yep.
And then there was some stuff that's been happening personally for me right now, and I'm like, why is this being brought up? And then I'm like, I'm trying to see, like, it's not about the money, because so many people are like, money this, money that, against rich people and all this stuff. And I'm like, there's something that's coming up. And I realized, I'm like, oh, this is coming up for me, because this person, it had nothing to do with money. The money is like the one that's like the obvious on the table, like you can see it. But when I took a deeper look at it, I'm like, from this other person, I was like, oh, that's what they really wanted. They wanted something different, but they're trying to project that money is the problem. And it's like, no, money was not. So then I looked at another situation. I was like, oh, that's a different thing. So it's like when you're able to see that. And then I looked at myself. I was like, oh, well, there was a big eye opener. It's like, why did you just throw the door right in my face? Like, I'm like, I didn't realize that my belief was that I'm only worthy of having $1,000 a month total.
Wow. Yeah. That is a
And
belief.
I just realized that. And I was like, because I'm like, I like people who are rich. I love people that are rich because they have something for me to say, like, hey, they did it, I can do it. That's why I'm like, I love rich people for that reason, because they've already got it figured out of how to create in their opportunities of what they've been given. Because like, you're from Poland, like you came overseas, you came here, you learned English, you're doing the thing, you're creating businesses, you've done architecture, you've done all these things, you've transformed lives, including your own. And it's like, if you can do it, I can do it. So it's like, how do you take on? Was there anyone at that point? You said Tony Robbins, you had mentioned, who was awesome, by the way. Was there anyone that just like stood out to you, like they did it, so I can do it? Where you got that belief in yourself because you saw somebody else doing what it is that you wanted to do?
Well, yeah, I mean, there were, some of these gurus. I mean, so one of the things that after that whole, optimistic depression, what was really important that looking back, what helped me tremendously is surrounding myself with the right people. Because I think this is really important, especially when you are in a negative space in yourself. What we tend to do as human beings in order to survive, we go and isolate ourselves. And that's one of the worst things that you can do. You need to reach out to someone, have someone in your life that you have a relationship with. There is no judgment. There is no gossip outside of it. There is no, they'll be willing to tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. Right. And what ends up happening when you surround yourself with those types of people, you start to learn about yourself. You start to, grow and, get back to that, real authentic self, So that was one thing. The other thing that happened for me during that particular time is I got reconnected spiritually to my faith. So I was raised Catholic, and for the longest time, I was not having a good relationship with the Lord. And during that particular time and afterwards, I reconnected on a very personal level. And that has helped me, like, I can't even explain that, you know what I mean? So that faith aspect was a big part of it. So these are the big things that I would say, that my relationship with the Lord has been tremendous, because that has allowed me to actually, for instance, learn that there is nothing, actually literally nothing that I can control. Like nothing, like literally nothing you can control in life. So why do I keep holding on to everything? Because I want to hold on and control it. Well, guess what? It's not going to work, buddy. And the sooner or later you learn this, the easier and simpler the life is going to be. So.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, the only thing I can control is me and how I choose to react to something.
Right. Exactly.
That's one of the things that's like I figured out, but it's like that's the blessing of learning about. The more I've learned about myself, the more I realize I've got a lot of bad, horrible beliefs. And at the same time, it's like it's a good thing because I can work on them, to release them, to let them go. Because what you said a couple times now is what a person needs to do is not do more, it's doing less and letting go.
Right.
And having that relationship with God is very important, especially like for me, I'm like, I need Jesus. I've tried to go down that rabbit hole of people that don't believe in God. And I'm like, that's a place I don't want to go ever again. Like down that rabbit hole. Cause I'm like, I understand why they're not doing so great. Me, I'm like, I need God. I need him every day. I'm just saying multiple times a day.
Yeah. But it's, and that's good. Yeah.
Because I noticed, like, one of the things that I don't know, like, if you notice it too, like, when you said, like, when you were repairing, almost, it sounded like, if I understood right, like, you're repairing not, like, your relationship with God, but it's also within yourself at the same time. Like, how did that affect you, like, in the beginning? Because it's, like, it's hard to want to forgive people that have hurt you. And you've done it, and I've done it. But, like, for our audience out there, it's, like, how do you forgive somebody when it's like it's something that feels counterintuitive, like you're getting up, like they're getting off the hook,
Yeah.
in a way.
Well, so I will tell you this. So I think the number one thing is you need to forgive yourself first. Because one of the reasons why people have a hard time forgiving someone else because they get hooked by what this person did or didn't do or whatever. And then underneath it all, what's happening is, where did I fail? What did I mess up? Why, didn't I see it or whatever? I start beating yourself up over, So what ends up happening, the forgiveness for yourself comes first, I think. The other thing that I had to learn for myself is a couple of things. Do I want to be right? Or do I want to be free?
And fake free.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not, I will tell you this, it's not an easy thing. It's a very simple thing, but it's not an easy thing. And the thing is, I've learned this. I remember who I learned this from, but when you don't forgive someone, there is a resentment. I wrote this actually, there's a full chapter about forgiveness in the book. And having the resentment, it's like drinking poison and hoping the other person's going to die. When you look at it from that perspective, I'm like, well, so that the longer I hold on to it, the longer I do this, it's going to poison me even more and more and more and more. And what ends up happening, the people, if you really think about this, people who forgive tend to be happier. People who hold on to those resentments or whatever, you can see in their life, in their health, in all kinds of different things. So there might be some truth to that. So maybe I should consider that and start letting go of those things. It's not, like I said, it's not easy, but it's hard. I mean, it's simple to be able to do that. So once you do it once, I think it gets a little bit like, I've had some forgiveness conversation. If I would share those with you, you'll be like, what, that person? Why? So, but at the end of the day, that's kind of how you have to look at it.
No, and I appreciate it, because I know, like, there's been enough studies done, like the body keeps score, and then like how, like, fibromyalgia as an example, a lot of people suffer from it. It's like, if you choose to let go of things and you choose to take and say, you know what, I forgive this person, it goes away. Because literally we are drinking our own poison by not forgiving the person. That's why we end up with the health problems. Because what you just had said is 100% true, because you can see it. The people that are mad at people who are rich, they restrict that flow of wealth in their life. The people who are mad at somebody, they're still holding on to something, like it can be a trauma, for example. And guess what? It shows up in their body. It shows up in their relationships. Like a great example is somebody that I know, they married an alcoholic because their dad was an alcoholic. Well, then they divorced the alcoholic that they married just to go remarry another one. And it's like, well, gee, why was that? Because that's one, familiarity. And then it's like, that's what they grew up with, the familiarity part. But then from that even deeper, it's like they liked being with how that person was. And it's like, it's good or bad for that person, but it was still good, like a positive intention for that person. And it's like, that person is not one that I would want to follow at all. I mean, they've got health problems. They don't got the life that I want. And I'm like, nope, I want to stay away from that person. So it's like, it's kind of interesting, but it's like, you can really see that. But people like to blame money or blame other people. And it's like, when you really look in the mirror, we can't blame anybody but ourselves.
Yep. That mirror is a really interesting thing. Yep.
Yeah. And our kids really speed up that whole mirror.
Oh, no kidding, right? Yeah. I got 3 of them. I know how it works. Yep.
Yeah. One of them said something yesterday and I was like, oh. And then I remembered what somebody else had told me was that I train the world how to treat me. And I was like, they are my world. An example of, like, they are my world. And it's like, because of something that had happened, I can't blame anybody else but myself, because that's the situation of it, is that they're reflecting back to me what they saw other people's, what I allowed others to do to me, now they're doing. And it's like, nope, I trained that. But taking that ownership, I'm like, feels so much better than just being like, well, Dave did this, and not really seeing it. And that's one of the things that I've noticed, like with the personal development, is that the more I've gotten into it, it's like the more a person really sees like all these beliefs, all these different habits that we've got, and it's like, just want to get away from them some days.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're not all necessarily great, and I love that what you're sharing here because, it's a self-discovery, and when you start to learn, it's because think about it, the beliefs, they're gonna drive your entire life, and people don't see it. They try to change the behavior or the habit, but we start looking at what drives it. You start asking deeper questions. Why is that? And then when you start to discover that, then you actually have a power to shift, right? To do something
Yep.
else, to react differently, to say no, and all kinds of different things. So it gives you power for your own life to be able to make different choices in life.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's the biggest help, I think, of all, is that we're really, at the end of the day, we're just trying to figure out ourselves, I think, is like the biggest gift that we have been given, but yet so few actually want to do the work.
Yeah. Yeah, because again, it's a simple work, but not an easy work.
Yeah. It's not exactly great. It's like stubbing your toe. It's like, why do I want to keep stubbing my toe repeatedly? But hey, at the end of the day, I mean, like, if I do enough work, it isn't going to hurt so much anymore. Actually, I was like thinking about this, like with martial arts, it's like I've always been fascinated, like how a human can break one of those boards with their hand.
Yep.
And it's like they're using their mind, like they're training themselves, they're doing this, and it's kind of like, that's what we're doing, like with those self-limiting beliefs. It's like the board is right there. You can take it away at any time. If you choose to just bust through that, you can have whatever you want.
Right.
But it's like, are you willing to do the work? It's repetitive. It's simple. It's easy, like you said, but it's also one of those things that it seems like it's hard, but it's not that hard.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, think about it this way. Whatever that belief you have that is holding you back, there is a wound that's attached to it in some shape or form, whether it's emotional wound or physical wound or whatever it might be, right?
Yeah.
So when you start to let go of it, it's in a way, it's like healing that wound so it is healed. So if you ever, like, think about it this way, if you burn yourself, like your finger, and it's fresh, even if you touch it lightly, all of a sudden it hurts, right? But over time, when it heals, it's gone, or like you can barely see it, or you can touch it, or whatever it might be. So when it comes to, this, idea that I talk about here of getting back to your authentic self, it's like healing those wounds, letting go of some of those different things so you can, not be affected the way you used to be. How is it that some person that's walking down the street can say you're crazy and you are not affected by it at all? Well, yet when your kid or your spouse says you're crazy, now you are flying off the handle, right? So same words, maybe even same tonality, but it's a different person because there is some kind of belief, some wound attached to it. So when you start to uncover some of those things, all of a sudden you start to become more true to yourself, and you start to live that, like I said, the authentic self.
Yeah, I was just going to say that all ties right back to your book.
Yeah.
I think everybody should get your book. I'm just saying, I think that would really help them understand, like, you got to go back to that authentic self.
Yep.
You really, truly do. And it's not like what you said a couple times about, it's not how the world, like what the world thinks of you. It's like what you think of you, because it is a you and you deal. So what's the best way for the audience to get your book and then also get in contact with you?
Well, you can get the book anywhere the book is sold. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, everywhere. It's been released on September 9 this past year, and I actually became a #1 international bestseller, so it was very cool.
Awesome.
And
that is awesome.
Yeah, and you can go to my website, myauthenticrebirth.com, and you can get it through that website, myauthenticrebirth.com. And I'm on social medias. They can reach out to me on Instagram. I have a channel on there where I share a lot of different little tidbits like that, 90-second reels. It's called Authentic Self Rebirth, that channel. And yes, so that's how they can reach out to me. And obviously, I'm answering the messages on there and helping people out.
Awesome. So do you have a podcast as well?
Well, I co-host a podcast with that guy, Jason. It's called The Life and Air Show. So you guys can check it out on lifeandair.com. And we share a lot of those kinds of ideas here. And we share everything, business, life, marriage, relationships, health, everything, because that we can't separate those things.
No, it's impossible to separate them. I've wondered like why the medical field have tried to separate the behaviors and all that a person has from their lifestyle, and it's like you can't. It's like separating
Right.
the head from the body. You can't do that. It's impossible.
Yeah.
They all
Mhm.
tie into each other. So I appreciate it. Well, thank you so much, and I really appreciate everybody's time and energy while listening to today's episode of Healing for the Soul podcast. So be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe to Healing for the Soul podcast, and keep coming back for more episodes.
That's all for now, folks. Thanks for listening. Thank you for fun. Tap that follow button. Subscribe. Quack, quack. Bye-bye. Wow, real next time. Now we will be gathered. Now